talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.
We have emissaries, but we also are dealing directly, and as you know, they've agreed to send 8 boats 2 days ago, and then they added another 2, so it was 10 boats. And now today they gave us as a tribute, I don't know, I can't define it exactly, but they gave us, I think out of a sign of respect, 20 boats of oil, big boats of oil, going through the Hormuz Strait. And that's taking place starting tomorrow morning. Over the next couple of days, a lot of boats.
I mean, if you just saw a guy that looks like him at Disney World by himself with the princess wand, you'd say, my God, that's a pervert. And then he's dancing around with Mickey Mouse, and he's running around and riding the rides by himself. Reportedly didn't even have security with him. He was walking up, talking to random women. You know he's on Xanax, folks. You know he's on benzos. Take one look at him. And he's so happy this war's happened. They're all having orgasms. This is a spiritual thing for them. So he went to celebrate. His celebration is going to Disney World and walking around all day with a princess wand in his hand. That's a fucking lunatic. And why would you have a princess wand? So you talk to little girls. Look at that little girl he's following right there. I wonder if he showed her his wand.
From Secretary Bessent, it's all hands on deck. So how massive an operation is this? And does the federal government have the resources to really wrap its arms around this and tackle it?
It's all about how we prioritize our resources, Sandra. So we have resources. Of course, we can't charge and go after every crime. But the administration, the president, the vice president, the attorney general has made it clear fraud is our top priority, particularly here in the state of California. And when the federal government puts its mind on something, we're going to go after it. And again, like I said, the task force with the vice president is just getting up and running. And I think you're going to see the results of that here really, really soon without saying too much.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. The U.S. and Iran appear right now publicly to disagree about whether there are these negotiations ongoing. What impact does that have on military strategy? Does it have any bearing at all? And General, the president wrote yesterday that the U.S. might destroy Iran's electricity generating plants and oil wells. Those are his words before ending this operation. Is there a way to do either of those things without seriously jeopardizing or seriously harming civilians?
So on the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the vice president and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. If Iran was willing to relinquish material they have and ambitions they have, open this. Great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue.
And I've been a big supporter of NATO. And one of the reasons why I've been a supporter of NATO is because I believe that these basing rights give us leverage and give us flexibility and operational capability all over the world. But if NATO is just about us defending Europe if they're attacked, but them denying us basing rights when we need them, that's not a very good arrangement. That's a hard one to stay engaged in and say this is good for the United States. So all of that's going to have to be re-examined. All of it's going to have to be re-examined.
It's past the hour now, and you're looking at the American stock market is, fair to say, surging. It's up 933 points right now. This as oil prices are dropping, just down about 1% or $1. Let's bring in Wall Street Journal editor-at-large and Fox News contributor Jerry Baker. So there's Wall Street Journal reporting about President Trump wanting to stick to the timeline to end this war, even if it means not completely opening the Strait of Hormuz.
All right, Tuesday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Let me say it, everybody in the chat real quick. Sedens Moore is on. Andy Mama is on. General Plowman is on. Guitar Glenn is on. Skunk 71 is on. Big Scott 1 is on. JD Joy is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. Greg Ninemon is on. Arcadia Angel is on. Let me see. Agravane is on. Jules 21 Hours is on. Todd Suff is on. Tim L. T-Bird is on. Let me see here. USA Abby Girl is on. Veronica 18201 is on. Mike Griffith is on. Captain Cliff is on. Let me see here. Deb Powell. Fitty is on. Let me see here. Robin Aroni is on. Jim Brody is on. Scrolling down. Mark 1069 is on. Sunwoo 45 is on. Lita Benita is on. Snag Dog is on. Patrina C is on. Jeannie Malfeasy is on. Aphrodites is on. Biggie 926 is on. Milwaukee James is on. Hefner is on. Corporate Meat is on. Luann 5 is on. Let's Cruise Brown is on. Milwaukee James is on. Gloyd Shaw is on. Lisa Kinzer is on. Lady Vu is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. JBC 2020 is on. Wait Away is on. Uncle Wally is on. Wisconsin Honey Badger is on. Release the Hog is on. Those Jesus People is on. Let me grab a couple more here. Mobeto 01 is on. Confederate 1 is on. Johnny F62 is on. Let me see. Let me grab a couple more. Rum Pierre is on. Granite 2468. Love you guys. Got your card, by the way. Right back to you. I love you. I really appreciate you. Mojave Jeep JT is on. Let me see here. Let me grab one or two more. Let me see. Somebody I haven't seen yet. Scrolling down. I do not know how to pronounce it, but it's like Nienvo, something like that one. Glad to see you back. Glad to be back. Let me see here. One more that I haven't seen. Let me grab K4. VMS is on. Naz Yeager, producer Aaron's wife, is on. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, I was out a couple of weeks. Hurt myself weightlifting. Had a problem sitting. If you hurt yourself once, you need to quiet, Aaron. It was over a 5-week period. I did some really stupid things, weightlifting. Had my legs propped up a certain way while I was bench pressing. Hurt my right hip. So I shifted over and put all the pressure on my left hip, hurt my left hip, and then kept doing it anyway, and it kept getting worse and worse, and eventually got to the place where I was no longer mobile. Quiet, Aaron. Could I have saved myself 2 weeks of being off, having a brain? Yeah. If I would have even asked Aaron, he would have told me to stop. I would have listened, but I didn't. But anyway. So, you know what? Try not to be a stupid human being like me. That's the theme of the show tonight. But anyway, glad to be back. I missed all you guys. I'm glad to see we still got 366 people that are watching. Appreciate Aaron filling in when I was as much as he possibly could. Just to let everybody know, the new podcast schedule is going to be Tuesday through Friday. I've got to give myself a day off. It's got nothing to do with the injury. But I've been working 7 days a week for, what's it been, Aaron, for a couple of years?
Yeah,
something like that.
6 years.
And so I've got to take a day off because I end up working because podcasting isn't my only thing that I do. Also, of course, preaching and everything. Got to get the message ready on Saturday. So the new podcast schedule is not canceled on Monday. It's just Tuesday through Friday. I'm taking the typical pastor 1 day off on Monday for now on so that I have a day off because it just gets to be a little bit too much. So anyway, but I love you guys. Really appreciate it. It was great to be back in church on Sunday too. But anyway, it's just great to be back. I love you guys. So anyway, everything's about Iran. So we're going to do a lot of Iran stuff. I don't know how much I can take, but I'm going to do as much as I can. I may pull the ripcord on that section of the show and do some other stuff like Trump Econ. There's some great stuff about Eric Swalwell right now. And I got some other stuff. But anyway, we're going to have to hit Iran hard as usual, no pun intended. But anyway, we'll do that as quick as we can. But anyway, I have to get to this one first. Everybody probably saw this today. It went extremely viral. Laura Loomer tweet. This has been known by Trump world since the campaign. I had no idea. Aaron had no idea. Joe had no idea. I had no idea about Kristi Noem. And of course, we'll get to that in a second. It's not a secret that Kristi Noem's husband is a gay man. If you're wondering why it is that she's having this long-term affair with Corey Lewandowski, that pretty much cost her job. I mean, she's some sort of ambassador to nowhere now. I can't even remember the name of the job anymore. Yeah. But anyway, it turns out that her husband has been living a very secret life to everybody except for, I guess, the most interwoven people into the Trumposphere. But I mean, I consider myself to know an awful lot about politics. I never knew this part of it. I just assumed she had a troubled marriage. But anyway, that's why nobody reprimanded her for her very open and public affair with Corey Lewandowski, who's still married to his wife. They felt bad for her so they're both having an affair. And by the way, they live together in D.C. I mean, here's my whole thing. I mean, how do you ever hope to get away with this in the digital age? And I'm going to show you why that is in a minute if you haven't seen it already. They felt bad for her because her husband is gay, which is why he never divorced her for the affair. I'm shocked it took this long for it to come out. It's been known for a long time. So here's what came out. Put the next one up for me, Joe. Here it is. Here's the problem. That's her husband on the left. And this is what I'm saying is, how in the world do you ever hope to get away with this? Because this may explain her, never-ending plastic surgeries that maybe she's trying to like pull him out of being gay, or maybe she's just trying to please Corey Lewandowski. My whole thing is, I really don't care what people do in their private lives. I'm going to preach the gospel. They'll respond to it however they want, rejecting it or accepting it. And I usually wouldn't necessarily get into people's private lives. So I really don't care if your husband's gay or your wife's gay or whatever. But the problem is here is you are a public figure, and this is going to come out. And as Megyn Kelly put out today, this makes you susceptible to foreign intel operations and honeypot operations right here. So makes you very susceptible to being, a target of a foreign op. But whatever, maybe extortion or whatever. So secret double life of Kristi Noem's cross-dressing husband. So it's worse than being gay. And is he even gay? That's the whole thing. Is he even gay? Because this is that something erotic thing that I make Aaron look up for me every single time, or men are actually turned on by wearing women's clothes.
I think it's gynephilia.
Something like that. That makes sense. And gynecologist, gynephilia. So anyway, this would be and this goes into a hyper fetish where these guys put on these extremely large prosthetic breasts and are somehow sexually turned on by it, but then they're gay. I don't think you're gay if you're turned on by large female-esque breasts. So this is just one of those very weird little fetishes that this guy's into. He's blown up his whole life. Probably started with porn. But anyway, so this is, absolutely just blown up in their face. It really doesn't make the Trump administration look very good as far as vetting. If they all knew, if Laura Loomer, there's probably nobody who's more of an insider into the Trump administration than Laura Loomer. So she's saying that everybody knew about this pre-campaign or pre-taking office. Can't remember what it said up there. But them knowing that should have disqualified her. If you got a guy, how did this get caught? Well, this is what he's putting out on the internet. I mean, again, people think, well, you know what? I've got a friend that I'm sending these pics to. You don't think it's going to come out? I think most people have learned that anytime autogynephilia. Good job. Well, you got it mostly right.
That's close. Yeah,
very close. But anyway. So you just have to know. I mean, most people have figured this out. Dealt with this at the sheriff's office when I was a cop. People once, if you send people nudes of yourself, guess what's going to happen when you break up? Okay, so this guy is sending pics of himself, and of course they're going to eventually find out this is Kristi Noem's husband. Eventually you're going to be exposed. So people know this is going to happen. So this should have disqualified her from ever being in the Trump administration, if they ever knew prior to her joining the administration that this was indeed the case. All right, go to the next one for me. More from Laura Loomer. Kristi Noem said her family is blindsided by revelations her husband is a cross-dresser and gay. Come on. Now, listen, I'm getting like a little tired of Kristi Noem lying. And, it's like when she was on Capitol Hill in the public hearing testifying before Congress, and you are asked point blank, and here's the deal. You are under oath. You have to, and listen, here people think, well, you're attacking Trump. No, you have to always tell the truth. Love does not rejoice in iniquity. Love rejoices in the truth. No matter what. And that's always loving, is to tell the truth. And that's the same thing when you're trying to win people to the gospel of Jesus. You don't transform the gospel of Jesus. You don't bend the gospel of Jesus. You don't filter the gospel of Jesus. You don't censor the gospel of Jesus to win people. you tell them that which is true. Right out of Ephesians 4:15 and 16. But speaking the truth in love may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ. Speaking the truth. So she's asked on Capitol Hill, point blank, are you having an affair with Corey Lewandowski? You have a choice at that moment. You can either say, I choose not to answer that question, but she didn't do that. Which, by the way, she doesn't even really have that right as a public official testifying before Congress. But you have to tell the truth. But instead, she obfuscates and dances around it. She also then, according to Trump, lied about the approval that she got for her multi-million-dollar ad, basically of her running for president in 2028, riding a horse around South Dakota, underneath Mount Rushmore. Totally had nothing to do with DHS or ICE. It just had to do, or her duties. It just had her riding around on a horse. She looked like anorexic too, riding around on the horse. But anyway, and she allegedly, according to Trump, lied about getting his approval, lied about her relationship with Corey Lewandowski, or obfuscated from or deflected it by saying that these questions shouldn't be asked on Capitol Hill. Well, this is now another one. Christine, do you honestly believe that she's had a husband for years now? She is living with Corey Lewandowski in Washington, D.C. And she allegedly doesn't know that her husband is gay, which I don't even know if he's gay. I think he's a victim of autogynephilia. What is it again?
Yeah, autogynephilia.
Autogynephilia. So keep helping me with that, Aaron. Yeah. You got it. I don't have it. You have it. But anyway, so this cannot be true. You know your husband has a problem. No woman married to a gay man doesn't know their husband's gay. I mean, there's telltale signs that he's gay. Would we all agree? Yeah. If number one, he has no sexual interest in you. Which here, I don't even think that that's necessarily the case. I think that he has that problem. But anyway, Kristi Noem said her family's blindsided by the revelations. Her husband is a cross-dresser and gay. This isn't true. She knew all about her husband, which is why she lives with Corey Lewandowski in the D.C. area. That's why her husband never divorced her. It was their arrangement. Literally everyone in the administration has known this forever. I mean, Laura Loomer's kind of burning down the Trump administration saying this. I'm shocked it didn't come out earlier. They can divorce and move on and live their lives without keeping secrets. I don't agree with any of that. I go with however things go biblically here. He can divorce her for committing adultery. I don't know if he committed adultery or not. I feel bad for Corey's wife. She is a widow of a firefighter who was killed in 9/11. Now, I feel bad for everybody who's a victim in this case, but the problem is Kristi Noem certainly isn't. And this is basically the end of her political career right here. And it's a sad deal because she was actually a very, very, to me, only second to Ron DeSantis when it came to being governors, when they were governors at the same time when she was the governor of South Dakota. But anyway, that's what happened. That's the deal. I don't believe a word she says anymore because there's no way she's blindsided by this. And it's going to come out that she's not blindsided. And these are the people, again, Republican or Democrat. I'm a die-to-the-wall Republican. I'll always be, if the Republican platform stays the same, I'll always be at least via platform a Republican. But this just shows you the people that we're electing. And they are oftentimes not the people that they proclaim to be. And we need to be electing legitimate, conservative, Christian people. And if they're not Christian, then legitimate conservative people that will not be bought off once they get to Washington, D.C. Speaking of being bought off once you get to Washington, D.C., let's go to the Iran war, shall we? Let's go to the first one. I think it's titled the Kabisi letter. Tweet, breaking Iran's president. I have no way I'm going to pronounce this. Aaron can try if he wants. Pezeshkian? Something like that says.
Pezeshkian.
Pezeshkian. Aaron's really good at this stuff.
Looks like it.
Yeah, Pezeshkian. So that doesn't even sound like. Maybe that's Persian. Maybe it's actually Persian. Yeah. I don't know. Says Iran is ready to end the war with the U.S. but wants guarantees. U.S. stocks are surging on the news. Here's the thing with this. Just leave this up, guys. I don't know what's happening. You're like, Tom, that's because you haven't been paying attention for 2 weeks. No, that's not true. I checked it all today. Got the latest printed up on Grok. What's the latest in the war? It all depends on who you're talking to. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. But today it's wide open. Yesterday it's completely closed. The day before, there's more ships going out of Hormuz than there has been in years. Iran's completely free-flowing through the Strait of Hormuz and everybody else isn't. It all depends on who you're talking. One day the war is going to be over in 2 weeks. Next day it's going to be over sometime in September. I obviously have no idea what's going on here. Now, here's the thing. That's actually a good thing if you're Donald Trump. That means that Trump is actually doing the correct thing. And again, I said this from the pulpit on Sunday morning. Tom, you say these from the pulpit? Of course. Absolutely. Tom, you're not supposed to mix politics from the pulpit. That's not a Bible verse, so that's absolute heresy. So I don't believe in any of that. I said it from the pulpit. I appreciate what Donald Trump does. I was talking about at that moment Christian martyrdom, which is at the highest rate it's ever been in the history of Christianity. Right now, more Christians are being martyred than at any time in history, and it's not close. And I said that I really appreciated how Donald Trump has gone out and looked for solutions to Christian persecution and has helped Christians publicly proclaim that Jesus is the only way to heaven. I love Donald Trump. I still do. I'm not black-pilled. I hate the war in Iran, and I think this is an absolute abomination that he's doing. But I'm rooting for us to win as quickly as possible. You're like, Tom, that seems awfully dichotomous. It doesn't matter. That's life, is it not? Except when it comes to sin, you cannot be lukewarm. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. Would thou wert cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I'll spew thee out of my mouth. Revelation 3:15 and 16. You cannot be, when it comes to sin, your sin had better be taken care of or you're going to burn for it. But most everything else in life, when the Bible says yes, it's a yes, and the Bible says no, it says no. So the Bible in and of itself, that's yeses and nos, but let your yes be yes, your no be no, for whatever is more than these from the evil one. But when you're dealing with a human being, that's Matthew 5:37, by the way, but when you're dealing with a human being, you are going to be dealing with percentages. I love Donald Trump. In Alabama right now, there's I can't remember who it was. Oh, can't remember whether it was BMW, whether it was Mercedes, whether it was a foreign car company, putting, I don't know how many billions into the state of Alabama right now, secured by Donald J. Trump. Massive amount of six-figure jobs, high five-figure jobs. So I love the guy, and I love what he's done at the southern border. I hate this war, and this war has been nothing but a lie from day one. From day one. And one day you got this, where Iran president, because there's nobody else to deal with right now. Basically, we're dealing with president, it's Mossad, Perez, whatever it is. And then and that's the president. And then the national security chief, which is Ali Larijani. Okay, those are the people that we're dealing with because everybody else is dead. The new Khomeini, they're not even sure whether he's alive or whether he's grievously injured or anything else. They're unable to really communicate too much because they can't turn cell phones on because cell phones can be tracked and those bunkers will be bombed. One day we're ready to negotiate, and then Trump was hitting them hard last night. So it's hard to tell, which, by the way, again, that's credit to Trump. That is how you are supposed to prosecute a war, is nobody should know what you're doing. But just for the record, I hate the war. And if you watch this podcast, you already know that, because I was promised no new wars. And what do I get here? I'm totally in favor of Monroe Doctrine excursions here in our hemisphere. I'm perfectly fine with what he's doing with Cuba, 90 miles off the coast of Florida. I love it. That's Monroe Doctrine. That's what we're supposed to be doing. But I want everybody to write a list down of the benefits that you've received so far from this war, or list of benefits you've received from any foreign war ever outside. And you could say tacitly, of course, committed to World War I, World War II, things like that. I'm talking about right now and basically in my lifetime, 57 years. There's no benefits whatsoever. We'll delve deep into this. Peter B. video. Marco Rubio. Now I want everybody to remember here, and I'm going to get out my pen here because I'm going to write down what Marco Rubio says. And this was, I believe, March 2nd. I believe this is March 2nd. The beginning of this war. Here's why we got in the war. Peter B. video. Play it for me.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act. Going back.
So it's weird. He answers. He said there's two reasons, and he gave number one, and then he gave number three. But anyway, so here were the alleged two reasons is, and by the way, they're all the same reason. There's no multiple reason here. And I want everybody to remember those reasons. And then he put out a statement from the White House either today or yesterday. It was posted today. So here's his two reasons. I want everybody to remember why we got into this war. The number one reason, you have two reasons. Now I'm going to give you number one and number three, and that's how he stated it. But anyway, Iran, if under attack, they would respond against the United States. That's why we go to war. If Iran is attacked by any foreign entity, they would attack the United States. So if the UAE attacked them, they're going to bomb us. If Iraq decides, you know what, we're going to go and attack Iran, we're going to restart the war between Iran and Iraq, they're going to bomb us. If Pakistan invades Iran, they're going to attack us. The bottom, what's he hiding from here? What's he hiding from is if who attacks them? Who? See, I hate lies. You know what I hate worse than lies? Honestly, I would prefer a bold-faced lie than an obfuscation.
Yeah.
I hate it. You go up there. Why? He goes, everybody's asking me, why now? Well, I have two reasons. Number one is this. Number three is this. And I'm not mispronouncing that. I'm not misstating that. Tell us the truth, which he ends up doing, and then he ends up getting in trouble, and Trump comes out and ends up lying instead of telling the truth. Tom, you said you love Trump. I do love Trump. I have voted for Trump 3 times. I love Trump. Okay? But Trump, again, when accepted with the Bible, anything and everybody else outside of the Bible, because Jesus is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. John chapter 1, verse 1, John chapter 1, verse 14. Jesus is the Word. There are 3 that bear witness in heaven. Here, I'll actually give you 3. The Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit, and these 3 are one. 1 John 5, 7. But anyway, he comes out and says, if they're attacked, so if anybody in the world attacks Iran, they're going to bomb us? That is not true. That is not remotely true. Aren't we all tired of being lied to? Aren't we all tired of the public obfuscations and the public deflections? Aren't we all tired of it? I'm so sick and tired of it. No, simply tell us the truth, Marco, which you ended up saying at the end when you're number 3 reason out of 2. You said if we waited, we just waited for some other ambiguous entity to attack Iran, then we got attacked, we would suffer greater casualties. What a bunch of crap. This is where I'm miscussing right now. This is where I'm miscussing right now. Because that's a bunch of crap. So the truth is, if Israel attacks them, which of course he doesn't say right off the bat, if Israel attacks, because he's laying the groundwork of bull crap. That's where I'm miscussing. He's laying the groundwork of absolute obfuscations and lies. If some other country attacks them. No, it's if Israel attacks them, they know that Iran will then respond by attacking the United States. Now, he ends up saying, so if we wait for that other foreign entity to attack, he doesn't say Israel yet, then we would suffer greater casualties because we wouldn't be ready. How many of you believe that? How many of you really believe that? I mean, listen, if you support the war, it's like I said on Sunday, we don't have to hate each other because I'm still rooting for us to win. And I don't celebrate when we get a setback in this war. I certainly don't celebrate that. Right in front of our church right here where I'm sitting, as I look pretty much right this direction right here, we're behind. So we have a very large building, but it's behind a Circle K gas station. Aaron, what was gas today?
It's $4.29.
$4.29 a gallon. I was bragging 2 months ago on this, 3 months ago. 3 months ago on this podcast, how I was paying $2.59.
Yeah.
Okay, look at where we are now. Okay, it's one day the Straits is open, one day straight. And by the way, who is it that's just getting violated? Bent over. You and me, as usual. You think the Saudi princes are suffering from the Hormuz being closed? No.
No.
You think the oil companies are? No. All they do is go, okay, there's less oil, we'll charge more. You and I just get bent over with some old man grunting behind us. That's what happens every single time. Every time. So Marco's answer, if we waited and we got bombed first, we would suffer greater casualties. So then he finally says, which got him in all kinds of trouble, we know that Israel is going to attack Iran, so we attack them with Israel. Okay, is that why did all of you vote for that? Oh, this is what I want. I want to be in this war. And well, by the way, what day is it now? What week are we in now? I don't know, 30-something days of war now? Something along those lines? I don't even know. Did you vote for that? It doesn't matter whether you're pro-Trump or not. I'm pro-Trump. I'm against this war and pro-Trump. That's the dichotomy of human beings. And I said this on Sunday from the pulpit. If you are somebody that says, "Oh, there's one thing that I like," you're dating a girl and everything's great about her, and you find one thing you don't like, and you're like, "That's it, it's over." Okay, now there are some obviously some things that you just can't come back from. Okay. I mean, whatever it may be. But I mean, on the whole, whatever it is, whether it's a friend, whether it's a relative, whoever it may be, and they have one thing you don't like about them, you're just going to discount them for life? No. All right. Unless they're like a child molester or something along those lines. Well, then, yeah. But other than that, you're like, well, you know what? He lied to me one time. Well, of course, you lied to them one time too. You know you have. So it is what it is. But anyway, so I don't sit there and go, there's one thing I don't like about Trump, so it's over. And then people watch a podcast like this. Well, he's against Trump. I'm not against Trump. I'm against this war. Trump's a human being who made a giant mistake and got sucked in to the vortex of Zionist and Israeli lobbying. Sucked in. $200 million from Miriam Adelson. I don't know how many millions from AIPAC. He got sucked in. Here's side by side, Aaron. Here's one of the suckers, Gang of Eight, Marco Rubio. He's never been a war he doesn't like. Because Marco doesn't have to fight in them. Marco doesn't have to fight in a war. I'm not equating law enforcement to fighting in a war. But I mean, a lot of people, they'll sit there and watch cops or whatever. You ever try to be a cop? You ever really want to go out and be a cop and actually have to put hands on somebody who hasn't showered in the 21st century? Or somebody's got poop all over them? And you got to do something about it. It's true. Right down the road here, I went to a call. Drove in. It was an old man, naked from the waist down, covered in poop. Someone's got to deal with it. You know who's got to deal with it? Me. Thank God the ambulance showed up right when I did. Jeez. But I'm telling you, you think you really want to be a cop?
No.
You go, this answer's out loud.
Yeah, you don't think about that stuff.
Yeah, you go, you know what? Someone drives up to you. Some people like the cop stories. Some people don't on the I love them. I don't think anybody doesn't. I haven't got any.
No.
But here's one for you. Well, you can get Marco also staring at him. But anyway, this is an example. People like Marco think wars are great because they never fight in them. They never fight them at all. You talk to Iraqi war veterans who didn't get to shower for 2-3 months while they're over there. They'd be riding in their trucks and they just pull their pants down because you could never be stationary for too long because they target in on you. And I talked to a friend of mine. He said, you just drop trowels, you're holding onto the back of a truck and just let it fly. And Marco didn't ever live like that. Marco lives behind gates and walls. It lives a very posh, very wealthy lifestyle. Who knows how much he enriched himself while being a member of the Senate. But no, if you actually have to deal with these things, I had a mailman come up to me right in my own neighborhood, by the way, where I live. I'm trying to drive home for lunch. This is how I spent my lunch, right here. So, postal worker comes up, mailman comes up and says, "Hey, I'm delivering over this house. Well, there's papers that are coagulated. There's papers that have collected on the driveway. He should be home. He's home like every day, whatever." So I'm like, uh-oh. And if you're a cop, your antenna go up, uh-oh. Papers on the driveway, day after day after day. So I go up there. There's been, several papers on the driveway. Dogs are barking on the inside. I'm walking around the house. It's all locked up. And I get to the back, and it's right on the Myakka River. And I go on there, and I caught a whiff. I'm like, something stinks. something smells, something. And I'm like, man, I hope it's out in the river. But I got in there. So eventually I found a door, which was the garage door, and I had to crawl through, pitch black, crawl through the garage. Like, this is not the cop stuff that I see on TV. No, I'm crawling through this man's garage in the middle of the day, but it's pitch black in his garage. He's like a hoarder, and I'm going through all of his crap in the garage. I get up and I start yelling his name. I knew the guy, so I'm yelling his name and can't find him, looking all through the house, and I could smell it, though. I know he's dead in there somewhere. So I went and found him, and he had been dead for I don't know how long. He'd melted into his bed.
Oh.
So you got to investigate the scene, make sure it's not a murder. You want to do that? Marco didn't want to do that. Marco didn't have to do that. Do you know what that smelled like? Do you know what it's like looking at somebody who's melted into their bed? You know what that's like? Okay, I mean, Marco doesn't ever have to deal with it. Look at Marco Rubio's history of employment. But yet everyone realized, at last count I saw 17 Americans are dead. And how many Iranians are dead? Again, people like Iran, bad. Life is not like that. Iran's regime, their Islamic dictator regime is bad. But there's lots of innocent Persians and Iranians that live in Iran. We blew up a school and killed how many of their girls? They don't know anything. They don't know anything. Talk to an average American now. They literally don't know anything. I mean, our education system's so bad, people don't even know what our border countries are, Mexico and Canada. They don't even know. I'm serious. People don't know. Look at our interviews on the street that we play in the post game all the time. Who did we fight in World War II? Mexico? That's it. I mean, I'm telling you, that's how it is. Who did we fight in the Revolutionary War? The South? That's how it is. I mean, people are that dumb. So these girls, they don't know anything. They just get blown up. Because Marco doesn't care. So anyway, getting back to Marco. So those are the reasons. Remember, the reasons were the three reasons that he said were one and three. If Iran got attacked, they would respond against us. And if we weren't attacking them first, then we would suffer more casualties, which makes no sense. But he says if they're attacked by a foreign entity, which he knows was Israel, and then eventually he confessed and says if Israel attacks them, they'll attack us. So we know that Israel is going to attack. Remember that. We know that Israel is going to attack, so we attack them first. That's what he said on March 2nd, 2026. Here's what he said today. Play it for me.
Many Americans are asking, why did the United States have to attack Iran now? Well, let me explain. Iran wants to have nuclear weapons. Of that, there is zero doubt. If what they truly wanted, which is what they claim, is nuclear energy, well, they could have nuclear energy like all the other countries in the world have it. And that is you import the fuel and you build reactors above ground. That's not what Iran has done. They build their reactors and their facilities deep in mountains, away from the public glare. And they want to enrich that material. The same equipment that they could use to enrich material for energy, they could use to quickly enrich it to weapons grade. So it is clear that they've been offered every opportunity to have a nuclear program that allows them to have energy, not weapons. And every single time they have turned it down. But why the attack now? Well, what was Iran trying to do? Iran was trying to build a conventional shield, in essence, have so many missiles, have so many drones that no one could attack them, and they were well on their way. We were on the verge of an Iran that had so many missiles and so many drones that no one could do anything about their nuclear weapons program in the future. That was an intolerable risk. Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future ever possess nuclear weapons. And under no circumstances can they be allowed to hide and protect that program and their ambitions behind a shield of missiles and drones that no one can do anything about. This was our last best chance to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build. And the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
Hey, so those are our leaders who just lie to us. Oh, no, I'm a Republican, so Marco Rubio, Republican, would never lie to us. Please, did you look at his COVID response? Shall we go back and look at Marco's COVID response? Because all these people that are for this war were an absolute abomination when it came to COVID. They were a COVID abomination. All of them, including Trump. Trump is the author of 15 Days to Flatten the Curve and Operation Warp Speed. That's worked out really well, hasn't it? It's only increased our excess death rate amongst those 25 to 64 by 32%. That's all, right? And then people, Trump's great. Listen, I tell you, I'm a Trump supporter. I love Trump, but he's wrong on things. He got some things right with COVID. Remember, he was 15 days to flatten the curve. Then he went to 60 days to flatten the curve. And then he said, you know what, we need to start reopening. And then he pimped and whored Operation Warp Speed. So, right? That's people. That's people. The people that you're closest to are the ones that do this the least in your life. I can always count on Aaron. Aaron doesn't do this, okay? Right. Aaron, and listen, he and I don't agree on everything. But the thing is, I can count on him. All right, but the thing is, I can't count on him 100%. He can't count on me 100% because we're human beings. And that's the way that I am with Trump. So here you have, I want to remind everybody, and this might be overly wonky or boring to people. I don't know, maybe not showing enough videos. But anyway, remember, March 2nd. Aaron, what's the date? The 31st?
It is the 31st.
All right, so 29 days ago, right? Yep. Got my math right? 29 days ago. The reason why we're getting in this war. Remember, he even started the video the same way. He started the video. Did everyone notice? Everybody's asking, why now? That's how he started both videos. All right? But 29 days ago, the reason people ask, why now? Marco Rubio, 29 days ago. Well, Iran, if they are under attack, will just inherently attack the United States. If they're attacked by Mars, they're going to attack the United States, right? So, and if they're attacked by any foreign entity, they'll bomb the United States. First of all, they don't even have the ability to bomb our bases. And they know that they and by the way, they never really do, even when they are in conflict directly with Israel. They don't dare because they don't want the ramifications. But anyway, so let's just play along for just a moment. His reasons were that if Iran is under attack by any foreign entity, they will inherently bomb the United States. Number two reason, out of the two reasons, but he gave three, and he actually named this one number 3, and it was number 2. But anyway, he said, if they were to strike us first, we would suffer greater casualties. When this unknown foreign entity attacks them, they're going to bomb us and cause us greater casualties if we don't bomb them first. And then he says, for his third reason out of 2, he says, you know what? Israel is about to attack them and hence cause us to be attacked. So we're going to attack them first. Now, here we are 29 days later. Is any of this part of the reason why? And everyone's just going to inherently trust Trump and inherently trust our elected leaders and possibly the future president of the United States, Marco Rubio, who's certainly going to run in 2028. Really? Because none of that was reflected in today's comments, was it? Because now it's nuclear weapons again. Let's regurgitate that old corpse, shall we? That corpse has been around us. It's like Weekend at Bernie's since 1984, trotting it around. We can never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. First of all, who are we to decide who gets nuclear weapons and who doesn't?
Right.
Who are we to decide? Who died and made us Yahweh? We're not here. Listen, if they're a direct threat to us, I mean a real threat to us, and are actually threatening us. But how many of you have ever in your life, I'm 57, got people older and younger in the chat, in this room, how many of you have ever felt threatened by Iran? Ever in your life? I felt more threatened by Justin Trudeau than Iran.
Yeah.
Just because of the political damage that someone like Trudeau could do. Or strangely named Shine Bomb out of Mexico right now. But anyway, it's kind of weird, isn't it? But anyway, yeah. So now it's nuclear weapons again. 29 days later, no mention of Israel. That right there, he said, Israel's going to attack, so we attacked, so that we wouldn't suffer casualties. Wouldn't suffer greater casualties by a surprise attack after Israel attacks Iran. So we wouldn't be able to prepare ourselves. After Israel attacks Iran, we would suffer all these casualties because Iran would just be able to bomb our bases at will with their great technology. So now it's nuclear weapons again, and now a brand new one has now entered the stage, Aaron. Brand new. Let's all give him a shout of praise here and some applause because there's a brand new reason. Our last best chance. That's the new reason. To do what? Iran was building this arsenal of drones and missiles that would disable our abilities to ever bomb them again. Really?
Okay.
So they're suddenly going to be able to defeat the United States Air Force, who launches from like Idaho and goes on 36-hour missions, never detected on radar, bombs the living crap out of them, flies back to Idaho, and somehow they're going to come up with some sort of drone that's going to defeat that system? So that's our new, they're going to, and by the way, it's just made up. It's like listening to Kristi Noem answer about Corey Lewandowski. That somehow, let me just think of an incoherent reason that we are now bombing Iran again, or why we're in an armed conflict with Iran. Because they are going to build so many missiles and drones, no one could attack their nuclear program ever again. That's a brand new one. So it's all back to nukes. And now the brand new thing, conventional weapons to defend their nuke program. And they were going to build so many of them that there's just no way our undetectable bombers will ever be able to reach them again, because a drone that can't even fly high enough to hit the bomber is now suddenly going to protect all their nuclear programs. This is why, folks. This is why I hate the war. It's all lies. Tell me if you're a defender of the war, tell me how to justify those lies. Where's Israel in this statement? Where's Israel in this statement? We all know exactly what has happened here. We all know. All you need to do is track the AIPAC money to every single person who's hoarded this war. You just track their AIPAC money, track their Israeli influence in their life, in their political career, and you will find out that everybody who's pimping and whoring this war has received hundreds of millions of dollars in totality from Trump alone, $200 million in this last campaign from Marianne Adelson, not to mention 2016 and 17. So here's another thing. Harry Enton video, a steady fall into the abyss for Trump's net approval. Play it for me.
We are talking as low as Death Valley. And this, I think, is so key here, which is, Johnny B was pointing out, it is sped up now, but this has been a steady fall into the abyss. There is no bottom. Death Valley, Death Sea, that is how low we are going. And look at this. I think this really just kind of shows that it is not one event that is dragging Donald Trump down. It's a slew of events that have come together and have continuously dropped his net approval rating. You go back to last year when he was sworn in for a second term, he was at +6 points. Then -3 points a year ago, -7 points 9 months ago, -10 points in October 2025, January 2026, -13 points. And now all the way down to -18 points, a term too low. And what is so key to point out here is, let's just say that somehow we got out of the Iran war tomorrow. Yeah, it might climb a little bit, but we have seen this steady and dropping number that just seems no sign of rising.
What's the comparison with his first term in office?
Yeah, I think what's so important to point out here is right now we've seen that steady drop downward. In term one, it was anything but that. Take a look here, the 3-month change in Trump's net approval rating at this point in the term. In term one, he was actually rising at this point. He was actually going up. His 3-month change was up by 5 points. Now we're talking about a 3-month change in which he has fallen to a new term too low, in which he's at -18 points. In term one at this point, he was actually higher. Remember, Trump was breaking all those records during term one, right? But at this point, term one, he was at -12 point in his net approval rating. He is now 6 points lower than he was at term two, at where he is right now in term two at this point, and he is just continuously falling, while term one, he had managed to turn it around. It was actually rising, and there is no sign of any bottom at this point in term number two.
Yeah, a big difference there. Republicans who are running for office in a few months watching this with a lot of trepidation. Let's talk about independents, which has been this group which really has just been eye-popping the last few months.
Eye-popping indeed. This number, if there's one big number from this, is that Donald Trump now has the worst net approval rating among independents of any president ever at this point in term two. He is worse than Richard Nixon, who would be going adios amigos in a few months back in 1974 in term two. Look at this, -45 points, worse than George W. Bush at this point in term two. The Iraq War was weighing him down at -37, and worse than Richard Nixon when, of course, there were all those impeachment hearings back in 1974 at -36 points. He's nearly 10 points worse among independents on his net approval rating at this point in term two, Donald Trump is, than Richard Nixon. My goodness gracious.
Yeah, height of Watergate we're comparing it to here.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about possible collateral damage. I mean, the president can't run again despite musings there, but what impact might this be having on, say, others close to him?
Others close to him. The Vice President of the United States. Chance that J.D. Vance is a 2028 Republican nominee. 6 months ago, he was at a 53% chance. down he goes. He goes down a 37% chance according to the Kalshi prediction market. This is tied for his all-time low, J.D. Vance. But, you know, you just go back here. A slow or steady drop, my goodness gracious, with no sign of a bottom. Death Valley.
And that's a big number to begin
That
with.
is a big, big number.
Harriet, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Jim.
Here's the thing, and there's plenty of Republicans that like this war. You did the Sean Hannity segment of the Republican Party. Certainly, I am not part of that segment at all, in any way, shape, or form. I am not an Israel sycophant. I mean, I mean, you just look at people who are. Do you want to be them? Do you want to be Lindsey Graham? Because Lindsey Graham loves this war. Absolutely, I have no interest in being Lindsey Graham. Look at this abysmal number. Here's the thing. What people forget about is their base. The Trump coalition is a small amount of establishment Republicans who actually hate him. The people that he's pleasing, I will never get this. I honestly will never get this. Aaron, you can help explain this to me if it pops into your head. Why in the world do you try to please people who hate you? Do you know what I do with people who hate me? I mean, in all honesty, folks, in all honesty, not in a non-Christ-like way. I'll force myself to be civil. I'll force myself to be nice. But here's the thing. I certainly do not go out of my way with people who I know hate me to be nice to them. As a matter of fact, the easiest way to say it is I hate them back. But I don't want you to think I violate the word with that, because I don't. I will not, physically hate them back. I will not, act in hatred towards them or anything like that. But I just mean symbolically, I hate them back. And the people that hate him the most is the ones that he's catering to when it comes to this war. And he ended up doing it with Minneapolis too. The ones who hate him the most, the ones that wanted him to withdraw from Minneapolis, and he did it. The establishment Republicans vote Democrat. They all do. Lindsey Graham votes Democrat. McConnell votes Democrat. Joni Ernst votes Democrat. They vote Democrat. Trust me, they do. They certainly do not vote Trump. If they vote Republican, it's only for a rhino, for a Republican in name only, who actually is a Democrat, a Lindsey Graham. So Donald Trump is appeasing the people that hate him the most and spurning the people who love him the most. You and me. Maybe if you agree with me on the Iran war. So you and I, his base. Here's the thing. How many people have stood out on a street corner for Trump? I have. I've campaigned for Trump, been on a street corner for Trump.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. I went to a Trump rally at Robarts Arena in Sarasota in 2016. I was a police officer then, so I had real easy access in and got real up and close because a friend of mine's high up in the Republican Party. But anyway, so I mean, it was great. It was I either did or almost bawled when Trump walked out. And I still love Trump, but the problem is, look at what is happening, because he's basically told all of us, no new wars, no new wars, and no new wars. And we're on day 30-something of a brand spanking new baby boy war. You look at the numbers here. Minus 18, folks, that's apocalyptic. It's apocalyptic. These are either Kalshi numbers or poly market numbers. I guarantee. I saw later. Certainly was a Kalshi number. But anyway, and I don't always trust the numbers. I'm just saying that Harry Enton is pretty even keeled. I heard he's a Republican. But anyway, so minus 18. I mean, look at it. Look at where we were. Oh, remember the Elon days, January 2027?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? And, I mean, look how it kind of went. It kind of went, when you ended up with Doge, people got pissed off or whatever. So some approval ranks. But look where it really started to take a dive. So we look, July of 2025. What was happening in July? Oh, that was right after the first Iran bombing. So then it shifted into double digits.
Yeah.
Double digits of disapproval for Donald Trump. You look at the other numbers just coming up. So he's minus 45 with independents. That's worse than Nixon at minus 36, Bush at minus 37. J.D. Vance's Kalshi odds for winning the presidency or being the Republican nominee for president, I don't know which one it was. He was 6 months ago at 53%. He's now at 37%. That's where we are with this. I mean, it is not good. Let me do one or two strategic things when it comes to Iran real quick. Bill Mitchell video. So you're hearing all about Karg Island right now. Karg Island is Iran's golden goose. Karg Island is Iran's golden goose, and Trump knows exactly where to squeeze. The island handles nearly all of Iran's oil exports. Allegedly, again, Trump does a good job with this. And again, his prosecution of this war is really well done. It is. Again, I'm not going to lie. Well, here's the thing. False. Everyone knows 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him. One of them is bearing false witness. Everybody realizes that bearing false witness goes both ways, right? It's not just denigrating people behind their backs. It's saying things that are not true, saying things that are not true about a person, period, good or bad.
Right.
So if I sit there and go, Trump's great all the time, and it's all, this is all red pill, this is all 4D chess, and I'm Mr. White Pill, right? No. He does a good job, and Hegseth does a good job prosecuting this war. Very few casualties compared to what they've done to Iran. Basically ending their Navy, ending their ability, ending their Air Force, ending their strategic air defense in a very short period of time. So kudos to him on that. But anyway, so the next big thing they're talking about is Karg Island. I'm going to let the video speak for itself, and then we'll talk about it. Play it for me.
This is Iran's Karg Island, where 95% of the country's entire oil exports are loaded before heading to the global market. The tiny 21 square kilometer island holds massive outsized strategic importance, and because of this, Axios, Bloomberg, and other outlets are now reporting that their sources inside the White House are saying that they're seriously discussing and considering a special forces military operation to capture Iran's Karg Island.
We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here.
Karg Island is one of the least known but most strategically important pieces of territory in the entire Middle East. The entire Islamic Republic of Iran's economy, the IRGC military spending, the nuclear and missile programs, and the government salaries are all funded by this single piece of infrastructure. Talk about a strategic vulnerability. To put this location into perspective, the island is only about half the size of Disney World in Florida. It's the strategic linchpin that controls the whole country's economy. It's so strategically important that it was in the 1989 Sega Genesis game F-15 Strike Eagle 2, and its map is in Battlefield 3. American gamers have been fantasizing about attacking Karg Island for literally 37 years now. But they claim this technically wouldn't be boots on the ground. It would be a loophole. It would be more like elite ninja slippers or something. So today we're going to examine why Iran's Karg Island matters so much, how heavily it's defended, and what a special forces mission inside of Iran would look. To Karg Island is only about 130 miles away. That's well within Black Hawk helicopter range. Kuwait is a launching pad for this helicopter assault mission. Apache helicopters with 30mm cannons, Black Hawks, and Chinooks carrying commandos embark from here, and it takes them just under an hour to reach Karg Island. Planners favor this low-altitude helicopter assault with support from U.S. Ranger Infantry Regiment. This allows soldiers to land precisely near key objectives. Special forces conduct high-altitude, low-opening halo jumps from 30,000 feet in the sky in order to have standoff from the short-range air defense systems. They land near the island and sabotage air defense on the ground to pave the way. The Delta Force squadron responsible for capturing Maduro was reportedly moved into nearby Kuwait in February 2026. Their first priority in securing and seizing the island is securing the oil terminal to prevent its destruction. Each step of that plan is a possible point of failure and challenge if something were to go wrong. Mohammed Soliman, a senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, said this about Karg Island, quote, "Take it out, and this means cutting off the military budget in addition to pulling the plug on the basic services that keep Iranian society functioning," end quote. Karg Island security is reportedly handled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, so defeating any kind of American air assault mission here would be their responsibility. Access is extremely restricted here, and satellite imagery suggests the site is heavily fortified. Reports indicate that old assessments claim about 250 IRGC soldiers are here, plus another 250 air defense personnel stationed, and up to another 500 additional military personnel stationed behind steel perimeter fences and guard towers. There's only a population of about 8,000 people that live on the island. Most of them work there, according to this 2016 Iranian census report that I dug up. So the Financial Times analysis outlines the stakes clearly, I think. They say military action to destroy or take control of the island's infrastructure would be hugely damaging to Iran, but risks deepening the war, triggering a further shock to energy markets, and weakening any future Iranian government. End quote. It's like my old platoon leader used to always say, no risks and don't take any risks. Take a look at this CIA declassified assessment of Kharg Island's defense from the 1980s. It reveals a lot. Case officers stated surveillance spotted 6 Hawk anti-air batteries on the island, 8 twin 35mm cannons, and another 8 light aircraft positions. Who knows what they have there today, but Jane's reported Iran has deployed their top air defense here. Separated from reinforcements, the island is difficult to defend and it's already isolated. Precision strikes would be needed to take out any of those air defense systems so as not to blow up the entire island. With Iran's air defense degraded, its navy largely destroyed, and its air force knocked out and its ballistic missile launchers pummeled, American war planners believe that they have an opening at this.
All right, so that's Kharg Island. What's the big deal about Kharg Island? And I'm going to stop talking about Iran. The deal is with Kharg Island, and could we take it? It's 8 square miles. Obviously, could take it. It's half the size of New York or something, the city of New York, whatever it is. But anyway, it's like the size of Manhattan or something along those lines. But anyway, so we could easily take it. It would be taken. There would probably be United States casualties because you're going to have to put troops on the ground. The troops are already in place. It's 2,500 Marines. Delta Force is already there. Is Trump going to take Kharg Island? My prediction is yes, he is, depending on negotiations, or he's going to use it as the negotiation tool. Because here's the deal with Kharg Island. Kharg Island is big because people think Iran's only about oil, but really half of Iran's exports are oil. Basically, half of their economy is oil. That's basically what it is. 90% of 50% of their economy goes through Kharg Island. 90% of their oil exports go through Kharg Island. So you could actually take over Iran by taking Kharg Island. Because that would control, think of this, it would control 90% of 50% of their economy. So we would be controlling about 40 to 50% of their economy if we took Kharg Island. One island, an 8-mile island right there in the Strait of Hormuz. And we've already got everybody in place to do it. If we do it, I hope we take it. Do I think we should? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What I think we should do right now is find some way to declare victory and get the heck out of there, which Trump alludes to and then doesn't allude to it. Alludes to it and then does the opposite, which again, he should be keeping the enemy, which I'm fine with, by the way, because if I don't know, that means other people don't know. That's a good thing. So anyway, that's Kharg Island. When you're hearing all about it, that's the deal with it. Just think of the numbers. 50% of their economy goes through Kharg Island. 50% of their economy, because 50% of their economy is oil for all intents and purposes. It was simplistic, very simplistic arithmetic, but that really is it. If you take out Kharg Island, you actually control 40 to 50% of their economy without ever having to do a land invasion on Greater Iran. That's why you're hearing all about Kharg Island. All right, let's go to this. So with all this, I want everybody to remember, how much do we spend per day on the war? Everybody know? $2 billion a day times 365. Have we crossed? Have you seen that clock recently? I don't know. You probably haven't. Okay. Oh, we have crossed over 39. Yep. Congratulations.
Yep.
All right. Aren't you glad we won the election? What's changed? Anything? Well, it changed for what does it matter if it changes for a while? Right here, folks.
Right.
Trump entered office. What was it when Trump entered office? $36 trillion in debt. So we're spending the exact same amount of money over in deficit spending as we did with Joe Biden. So why win? Why have a Republican in who legislates like a Democrat? You're like, Tom, are you saying that about Trump? I'm not saying it about Trump. I believe that clock is saying about Trump. And by the way, it's not just Trump. We also own, what do we own? We own the Supreme Court, the Senate, and the House, right? Still the same.
Yep.
Do you really still believe in white hats versus black hats? Is it really that way? Or is it just truth versus lies? Is it the Holy Ghost versus the Antichrist spirit? That's really what it is, folks. Well, let me show you this Peter St. Onge video. The money printers are back. $2 billion a day for the war. And let's look at a lot of what he's talking about here. Doesn't have too much to do with the war, but when you add $2 billion a day onto it, think about what it is. It does have a lot to do with the war, but you add on to what he's talking about, $2 billion a day. Think about what it ends up being at the end. Play for me.
Inflation is back with the Fed admitting money growth doubled in February. Note that is before the war and the spike in oil prices. Will we look back with nostalgia upon Bidenflation? Last week, the Fed announced February money growth doubled to $198 billion, up from just $82 in January. That's precisely double the $93 billion monthly run since Trump took office. Now, 198 is 11% annualized. Moreover, it's almost as much as the $245 billion per month they were printing during the worst of COVID, which you will recall begat double-digit inflation. Now, this matters because spiking oil prices get headlines, but what goes up goes down. It's the money supply, money printing, that causes permanent inflation, like it did under Biden. So the rule of thumb is inflation is money growth minus economic growth. Visually, you got a pile of money, you got a pile of stuff, GDP, and you divide them to get prices. Now, since Trump took office, M2's been growing around 5%, and the economy's been growing around 3%, which leaves 2% inflation. But at the current 11% growth in money, even if the economy returned to pre-war 3% growth, you're talking 11 minus 3 makes 8% inflation. If the war slows the economy and raises money growth to pay for the war, it could take us back over double digits, worse than Biden. Now, it doesn't happen tomorrow. A typical delay on money printing is 12 to 18 months, but the path we are on guarantees us Bidenflation in 2027. So what's causing it? About a third of last month's jump in money was rising bank lending since the economy was doing very well before the war. When you borrow money or your company borrows money, the bank does not raid the vault. They literally print it on a spreadsheet. Well, they print almost all of it. The Fed requires 7 to 10 cents in the vault, so-called fractional reserve banking. All the rest is magicked up. Now, bank lending is not necessarily inflationary. If it grows the economy, it'll cancel out. The problem is the other two-thirds that are printed by Washington, money that does not grow the economy. A big hump was the Fed itself, which created a net $83 billion by flipping from selling off assets to printing more money, called quantitative easing or QE. They did this to grease the skids on Wall Street, which needs permanent money. Like any shark, Wall Street needs the printers to keep going or it dies. And then the big one, federal spending. Treasury borrowed $140 billion last month, which is annualized almost $2 trillion. Keep in mind that's before the war, which is running about $2 billion a day or $700 a year. So what's next? Brought to you by I Trust Capital. What's next depends on the war. Oil prices and war spending could tack another 3% onto inflation. Toss in a slowing economy. Remember, inflation is money growth minus GDP growth, and it will get back to Biden territory. And even if the war ends tomorrow, we are back to those February numbers of 11% that were driving gold and silver to the moon on expectations of future inflation. The only solution is epic growth. GDP so big, even 11% money printing can't kill it. Before the war, there was a chance between rate cuts and factory onshoring, but the war froze both. The Fed has already flipped to hikes, while trillions of foreign investment is deer in the headlights until the war ends. If that continues, the word for 2026 will be stagflation. Follow forward.
All right, so there you go. And again, it's people love to get into Republicans versus Democrats. Okay, let me just put this out. Democrats are a bunch of evil, nasty demons. And Republicans are sycophantical cowards, oftentimes. Okay, I'm talking about the politicians, not those of us who are voting Republicans. But anyway, you look at everyone wants to talk about good guys versus bad guys. I like to talk about it too. My next segment on the show tonight, I'm not going to get to it tonight, I'll do it tomorrow, would be Eric Swallows. Well, I love doing that because he's an absolutely demonic human being, lying to sack of human feces. But anyway, that's all fine. That's oftentimes just a distraction. What we really need to be concerned about are things like videos. I don't find them to be boring. That would be boring to a lot of people from Peter St. Onge. People like him. So you just think about our deficit spending for the month of March. What we spent over what was actually brought in tax revenue. We spent $198 billion in deficit spending in the month of March. The Treasury borrowed $140 billion of that. Borrowed it from who? The federal banking system, which is private banks that are printing their own money and loaning it at interest to the government. Does that make sense to anybody? $39 trillion in debt, folks. 26 years ago today, we were less than $1 trillion in debt. 26 years ago. You look at this. We are about now at the same deficit, with $198 billion in deficit spending in the month of March. What were we in COVID times? $200 billion. We're $2 billion off of COVID times. Aren't you glad we won Aren't you glad we won the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the presidency?
Yeah.
What's the difference? What's the freaking difference?
Golden age, baby.
What's the freaking difference? Anybody know? Listen, you can be like, I love Trump and this. I do too. I love Trump does this. I love Trump does this. But what's the difference between him and Biden? The only difference right now, and it is an important one, is that we don't have a wide open southern border. But other than that, what is the difference, folks? We are spending $200 to $350 billion, depending on who you talk to, in Ukraine under Biden. What are we doing now? We're selling those weapons now to the Ukrainian war. We've made it more of a capitalistic system, but we still have over $200 billion worth of lost revenue sitting in Ukraine, which mainly went to their politicians. They're buying, beachfront properties, in various resort locations around the globe. So you have to look at this. So after this money is printed, where does it go? And now it's once you print the money, and remember this, under the Biden regime, we printed almost 50% of our current currency under the Biden administration from 2 years ago. 50% of our current currency, hard to say fast, was printed under the Biden administration. Now we're doing the exact same thing. When the Treasury borrows $140 billion, where do they borrow that from? The money printers. It's not real money. It comes from what's called fractional reserve banking. They're private lenders, but they only think about this. This blows my mind, Aaron. Think about it. So we're borrowing from the central banking system to fund the war, to fund our economy, fund basically our government.
Yeah.
Where again, we bring in $4 to $5 trillion a year in tax revenue, and we spend 6.8 every year. So we're spending $2.5 trillion that we don't have. Where does that money come from? Are we selling off? Like if you and I, we needed money for something. If Joe had to make a mortgage payment, and he's like, either make the mortgage payment or have your house, whatever you call it, not repoed, but whatever it is, foreclosed on.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe would sell his motorcycle to make the house payment because that's what we have to do. No, that's not what swallows well. Or that's not what the House has to do or the Senate has to do. We pay to cover up all their sexual,
like
misconduct and adventures that they're on, whatever it may be. We pay that $17 million. We pay for all that for them. They don't have to do any of this. They don't have to abide by. They don't have to abide by. Money printing laws. They don't have to abide by counterfeiting laws. They don't abide by any of those things. What they do is they just go with fractional reserve banking. So these central bankers that are really all part of the Federal Reserve, once you get into the top 4 or 5 names, because they only want to have 6 banks in the entirety of the United States, you go to fractional reserve banking, which means all they have to hold in real assets are about 7 cents on the dollar. A very fractional reserve, a very fractional amount of the money that they lend. And then these banks loan this money to us. There is no money. Does everybody realize that? If they loan you $1 billion, they might have 100 grand back in the billion. You think that how many of you are under the delusion that if you lost all your money in the bank, that it'd all be paid back to you? You're like, well, that's happened to me before. It's happened to my family too, where you have somebody go out and use your card and they enter your account and the bank pays you back. Yeah, when your account's got $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in it, yeah, it'll do that. But if all the money in the banks was taken out, like if somebody came in and digitally robbed the banks, what do you call it, Aaron, when people like
hacking?
Yeah.
When
they hack the banks and take all your money, you think that's backed by the FDIC? It's not. Just so you know, there's a certain amount. Just look into it. It really is for I'm just making these numbers up, but just as an example, per 100 million, they got about $1 million to back it.
Yeah, FDIC only backs 100,000.
Only backs, I was going to say 100 grand, right? Yep. Yeah, that's it. So it's all lies. You think that when, right now we're spending $2 billion a day on this war, that we're getting loans by private bank that calls themselves federal. It's all lies.
Yeah.
Marco Rubio telling you about why we got into the war. All lies. It's all lies. It is a central banking system that decided to conglomerate itself on Jekyll Island in 1913. That's what it is. It's all a bunch of people that are raping us fiscally, raping us, $39 trillion in debt. They will never go under. But this is one is how you can leave that up, Aaron, for the remainder of this. So this is what happens with it. So what they do is fractional reserve banking. They're making loans off of money they don't have. You think there's why is it? Why I wonder why it is that we never went into Fort Knox under Trump. You think that gold's there? Do you think that if the gold was there, that we wouldn't have gone in? There's nothing that's backing any of this. There is a tiny amount of backing, which probably isn't even backing. It's probably just still even digital backing for digital currency. And we're being loaned money to fight this war and to run our ridiculous government, which is only profiting Democratic Party NGOs and leftist NGOs. They're the only ones that are actually profiting off of this government. But once all this money is printed, it's now in the ether. Whether digital or hard copy, it is now in the ether, and it drives all of our prices up, and it's coming because there's no way to stop it once it's in. Because then you have to absorb it over time. Or you have to have the biggest economic boom in history. That's what would actually have to happen. Because the amount of money that's out there, the literal amount of money is what drives inflation. So if you have, too many bills chasing too few products, that's what ends up with hyperinflation and stagflation, where both interest rates are high and nobody's getting any raises. But anyway, so that's it. I just want to put this out to you. It's not sexy, but that's the real threat. All right, 10-16, that's good. All right, what do we got tonight for rants, Aaron?
We have 7 of them.
7 rants. Let's do them.
Todd Suff donated $20. Welcome back.
Thanks, Todd. Love you, man. Appreciate you. Hardcore Foundation Church member. Love them. Go to the next one for me.
Naz_Yager donated $5. Glad you're back.
Naz Yager. Those Yagers. Thanks, Naz. Love you. Next.
KA1960 donated $20. Great to see y'all.
CA1960. Glad to see you too. Love you. Go to the next one for me.
Nude Monk donated $20. Swallow swell.
Here we go.
Bang bang fang fang for some yorn.
There is some great stuff going on. I wish I would have gotten the swallows well part. I will do it tomorrow. Go next for me.
Robin Aroni donated $10. Aaron and crew did a fantastic job on TLP, and Pastor Hope was amazing at Foundation Church. However, we all missed you and are very grateful for answered prayers. Welcome back.
Thanks, Robin Aroni. Love you right back. Appreciate you so much too. Go next for me.
Jules 21 hours ago donated $10. We missed you, Pastor Tom. Glad you're back. It's been way too quiet. Lol. Aaron and team did a great job.
I mean, Grok's got to work on that stuff.
I know.
Grok ought to be able to read laugh out loud.
I know.
Thank you, Jules. Love you. Great seeing you on Sunday, too. Got another one for me?
Yep.
Biggie92678 donated $5. Please explain to me how cussing is wrong. Not using the Lord's name in vain, but the other words that man, not God, has labeled cussing words. How is that not man adding to the Bible?
Well, because it's in the Bible. I'll give them to you. Are you ready? But now you yourself start to put off all these anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy language out of your mouth. I agree with you. The only sin would be using the Lord's name in vain. That's a sin. That's hellbound. If you drop the S word or whatever, I'm not saying you're going to hell for it. I didn't say, notice I never said it was a sin. All right, but shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness, 2 Timothy 2:16. So that's it. So I agree. You know what? Because people have different definitions of what is a cuss word. I think pretty much everybody in our culture has defined specific words as cuss words, but it's not a sin to say the S word. It just makes you look worse as a Christian or it takes away from your witness as a Christian because you're actually violating the word where it says to shun profane and vain babblings. If culture says that it's profane, then you're making yourself look bad as a Christian. You're not going to burn in hell because you dropped the A word. But it was actually one of the things it was the first thing that I was convicted of as a believer was to clean up my mouth, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that is how you testify. So I hope that's clear. It's not, unless you're using the Lord's name in vain, it's not a sin, but it takes away from your witness. Backed up by Colossians 3:8, 2 Timothy 2:16. Got it?
Yep. One more.
Norma P. Laipply donated $20.
Oh, hey, I know that person.
Great show as usual. Love you.
that would be my daughter. You can see singing just about every Sunday at Foundation Church. To Aaron's right about every Sunday at Foundation Church. Love you, baby. You're the best. All right, is that it?
That's it.
All right, love you guys. Great to be back. Stick around for the post game. Back here tomorrow night again. Our new schedule is Tuesday through Friday. I am now taking Mondays off, giving Aaron Monday off, because we need to have a day off. So anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you. Stick around for the post game. Back here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. as always. God bless you guys. Love you. Glad to be back.
No King's Day.
No freaking Kings.
No Kings in the USA.
No King's Day. Woo!
Yeah!
No King's Day.
What are we going to do to the king?
We're gonna shut him down.
How are we going to shut him down?
Impeachment.
If there's impeachment, that means there's a Congress and Donald Trump can't be a king.
Right.
Right. Why is Donald Trump a king?
Because he's nuts.
He smells funny.
For real? Is that a question?
Because he has repeatedly overused his.
He's trying to abuse this world and try to make this place all about him.
Why are you asking me this? You know the answer.
What's the answer?
You know it.
What is it?
You know the answer.
So many people showed up.
Imagine if they showed up like this for Kamala.
People showed up for Kamala.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
What is one action that Donald Trump took that is impossible to do under the Constitution, but he did it anyway?
I can't name specific laws. I'm sorry.
Gavin Newsom's wife. I have a feeling we're going to be saying this a lot, by the way. Gavin Newsom's wife is back in the news. Some recently surfaced audio from our friends on the internet. She said they recently took a trip to red states in the South so they could teach their kids about racism and sexism and bullying, because, you know, that doesn't happen in blue states. It only happens in red states in the South. Let's listen to Gavin's wife. Cut 14, please.
You took your 4 kids on this trip. You're here in Alabama now. Why was it important to you to take them on this trip to red states and learn about the history in our country?
That's a great question. Well, I don't think, or I know for a fact, that we don't get all of this history in our schools, and it's part of, enlivening them, building their curiosity, expanding their hearts, their empathy, so that they themselves can be the change they wish to see in the world, and recognize that, we have work to do and that we have healing to do, and so that they can be, use their voices to stand up and speak out when they see pain and suffering and bullying and racism and misogyny around them. And
you want them to see it so that they know?
I do. I'm a truth seeker. They need to know the truth.
This lady, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, is going to be a real problem for poor old Gavin. I'm telling you right now. We've now featured her comments a couple of times on the show, and the condescension towards everyone else in America is so thick. The idea, we need to take our kids to Alabama. It's the only way they'll ever learn about racism. I mean, these people, they have no, and the thing is, they have no idea how they sound. There's no self-awareness. Absolutely nothing. My advice for Jennifer Newsom and Gavin and the rest of these Democrats is look inwards to these blue states where illegal immigrants are murdering American citizens because of your open border policies.
Where's the actual evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin?
It's right in front of your nose, Tucker. When we look back on this in 25 years, we're going to be amazed at how much of it was right in front of us.
You're a member of the judiciary. Do you believe the president right now has been an agent of the Russians?
Yes, I think there's more evidence than he is. Yes, and I think all the arrows point in that direction, and I haven't seen a single piece of evidence that he's not.
An agent like in the 1940s where you had people who were Reds, to use an old term, like that. In other words, working for a foreign power.
He's working on behalf of the Russians, yeah.
Okay.
The question has shifted from whether the president is working with the Russians to what evidence exists that the president is not working with the Russians.
At what point do you draw the line
and not accuse the President of the United States without any evidence of being an agent of Russia.
Yeah, he's betrayed our country, and I don't say that lightly. I worked as a prosecutor for 7 years, and
Betraying the country, by the way, we want evidence before you say that, but you said an agent of Russia.
Yeah, he works on their behalf.
I'm not hearing the evidence that he's an agent of Russia.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. It's almost hiding in plain sight.
Tell you what, this guy, athletic, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Before it's all said and done, might go down as the best of all time. You can't cover the guy. Now let's see if he can throw a strike. Hopefully Patrick Mahomes gave him a few lessons before today's game. Here we go.
He better not hit Bieber. He would have been in trouble.
Might have been a little overhand.
I think so. You got to put a little air underneath that pitch, but he almost one-hopped.
If there is a real Wakanda, it's the Democratic Republic of Congo. It has every mineral that you need to make iPhones, your cell phone, cobalt. It has
gold,
every mineral,
silver,
gold,
copper.
everything.
Yeah.
It has every mineral in the greatest abundance on the entire planet. It should be the richest nation on earth. And instead, it's just completely exploited because of Europe and the West. And these companies like Apple and all of these oligarchs around the world, they just view it as a place to plunder, like they've always viewed the continent. The continent is just a place to plunder.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not the gays of Hormuz?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
I just feel like if we're going to go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind. I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to, the gays of Hormuz, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure.
This podcast is all about. We talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.